Hey, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing the mid-year book freakout tag. Now I have changed some of the questions just to fit myself a little bit better. I took a couple out and I added like one or two. So it's not the exact same as the one you see everywhere, but I did one of these last year, so I definitely wanted to make another one this year. And so this is kind of just like my mid-year check-in since we're almost done with June. We're halfway through the year. And it's time for that mid-year check-in on how things are going reading-wise. Alright, so the first question is, how many books have you read so far this year? I have read 44 books this year. I finished one last night, so I've read my 44th book. I am like 3 books behind on my Goodreads goal. My goal for the year is 100 books, and when I checked yesterday and it said I was 3 books behind, it really stressed me out. So I definitely haven't read very much this month just because I've gone on multiple trips at the end of May. I went on a trip this month and I've kind of been running around, so I really haven't read this month, but I'm hoping to get some reading done this weekend. So I have read 44 books. I'm behind, but we're going to get back to it and catch up, hopefully. Question number 2, what is the largest book you've read so far this year? So the largest book I have read so far this year is City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare. This was a reread. If you've been watching, I have a reading vlog for this up on my channel. I think this is like 725 pages and it is a monster. This book is huge. This is the last book in the Mortal Instruments series. So if you've been following me for a while, you know I've been rereading all of these books, and now I'm currently into the part where I am not rereading anymore because I'm trying to catch up on the Shadowhunters. But this is definitely the biggest book I've read so far this year, and I read it in like 2 or 3 days, which was kind of like impressive, honestly, for me. So there we go. She's massive. The next question is, what is the best book that you have read so far in 2023? So the best book that I have read so far this year is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I think that this shouldn't really be a surprise to many people. I know a lot of people have really loved this book. I really would not be surprised if this ended up as my top book of the year unless something just like amazing comes along. It just made me feel a way that I haven't felt reading in a really long time, probably since like Throne of Glass. I really loved this. If you don't already know, this book follows Violet Sorrengail, who is our main character. She has been trained to be a scribe her whole life. When she enters this war college, she is supposed to join the scribe quadrant, but her mother forces her to join the Riders Quadrant, which are dragon riders. And essentially like majority of the people who go into this quadrant will die trying to get a dragon. So it's really just her trying to make it through her first year and to bond with the dragon. There's also a romance plot going on here, which was just chef's kiss. I loved it. Also, yes, I have the sprayed edges. But I really enjoyed this book. Fantasy, romance. It was giving Divergent vibes, and I loved Divergent in high school. So as of right now, this is probably the best book that I have read in 2023. The next question is the best sequel that you have read in 2023, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that I haven't read that many series. I've only read like 2 series in which I've gotten to the sequel. So I didn't really have much to choose from. I am going to go with, and I don't even know if this counts as the sequel since it's technically like a spin-off series, but I'm counting it as the sequel, and that is Daisy Hates, which is kind of like the second book in the Magnolia Parks universe. It's the first in the Daisy Hates series. I'm counting it as a sequel either way. I really enjoyed this one. I really loved Magnolia Parks, and then I read this one and I was like, wait, I like Daisy Hates better, and then you get to book 2 in Magnolia Parks and you're like, wait, I like Magnolia Parks better. It was very back and forth because I loved them so much equally, but this book really did it for me with Daisy and Christian and Julian. If you do not know, Magnolia Parks basically is just, Magnolia Parks is following Magnolia, who is in like a kind of toxic on-again, off-again relationship with her boyfriend, and their friend group, and like this drama with a cheating scandal. And this is the kind of like the spin-off following one of the guys in the friend group and his relationship with Daisy Hates, who is the little sister of a crime lord who also has connections to Magnolia Parks and all of them. And it takes place at the exact same time as the first Magnolia Parks book. So this is just like Daisy and Christian's version of events within the Magnolia Parks universe. and kind of all the things that are happening like with her family. And I don't know what it is about them as a couple that I loved it. Maybe it's because they weren't as toxic as like Magnolia and BJ that I could really get into this. So this is definitely, I'm gonna say, the best sequel I've read so far this year. The next question is, what is a new release that you have not gotten to yet but want to? And for me, that has got to be Happy Place by Emily Henry. So the reason I have put this off so long is because I really don't want to buy it in hardcover. I've thought about buying it on my Kindle, but I'm just gonna wait until it comes out in paperback. All my other Emily Henry books are in paperback, so I want it to match. So I've been putting it off purely because of that, even though I really want to read it. And I really don't even know what it's about. I just know it's an Emily Henry romance, and that's all that really matters to me to get me to read it. So yeah, I literally am just putting this off until the paperback comes out. It's not because I don't want to read it, it's because I don't want to own a hardcover of it and it not match on my shelves. So I will definitely get around to it eventually. We'll see how long that takes. The next question is, what book are you most excited for that is going to be released in the second half of the year? And I have two books for this one. The first one, obviously, is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros, which is the sequel to Fourth Wing. This is supposed to come out, I think, in November. And if you read Fourth Wing, you know we leave off on a major cliffhanger, and I literally need to know. There are so many things I need to know, and I'm so excited. They just released the cover for Iron Flame, and it looks so good. I'm so excited. Like, I need this book now. Literally now. I'm just already grateful that I didn't have to wait like a whole year for it to come out, because I read Fourth Wing and it comes out in November. But I'm super, that's like my number one. So excited about it, especially because House of Flame and Shadow doesn't come out till January, so that's technically 2024. So Iron Flame is my number one. But the other book that I'm really excited about for the second half of the year, I think it comes out in September, is A Curse for True Love, which is the, I think, last book. I don't think there will be any more books. It's supposed to be a trilogy of the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I loved Caraval, but Once Upon a Broken Heart was like 10 times better than Caraval to me. I'm obsessed with that series. And again, the way the book 2 ended, I was like really upset. And there was a moment there where we thought that it was just going to be a duology and there wasn't going to be a third book, and I was getting very stressed out, like I will do anything, give me the third book. So I am really excited to see how that wraps up and if we can fix what happened at the end of the second book, because it was just so stressful and sad. So I'm really excited for that one as well. Okay, so the next question is, what is your biggest disappointment? And I'm sorry if my camera moved. My mom just opened the door and like hit my camera, so it may be off. What is your biggest disappointment of 2023? And I had to think about this a lot. There were a couple options I could have gone with, but I decided to go with In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. I actually had an arc of this book, and I loved House in the Cerulean Sea. I didn't necessarily love it as much, but I did really like Under the Whispering Door. But I just couldn't get into this book the way that the other ones I really got into, and it also didn't make me feel like the warm, happy, like comforting feeling that the other two books gave me. And like, it took me way too long to get through. I have a whole review of In the Lives of Puppets up on my channel. I'll link it in a card at the top. But it was just a disappointment, and I think it's because I had such high hopes based on his other two books that it really let me down in comparison. And it's not that it was a bad book, it just wasn't, it didn't live up to my expectations, which is why I think it was the biggest letdown for me. Next up is, what was your biggest surprise? And for that, I'm going to say Magnolia Parks. And I know I just ranted about how much I love Daisy Hates and Magnolia Parks, and I really truly loved these books. But I will say, before I picked them up, even though I bought the whole series at once, I really was not expecting to like them that much. I knew that there was a cheating trope, which I normally like cannot stand. I hate it. It gives me the ick and it just makes me uncomfortable. So I thought I was going to hate this. And also, it's like, I knew it was like very toxic romance. And so everything I had heard about it before I picked it up made me think like I was not going to like it. And then I was just going to be irritated while reading it. And then I was the exact opposite. I absolutely loved it. I devoured it. 10 out of 10. Okay, I'm obsessed. I'm so excited. Also, they just released the new covers for these books, and I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely hate them. So overall, I did not expect for this I expected to hate this book and I ended up loving it, so it was my biggest surprise of 2023. Next question is, who is your new favorite author? And this was really hard for me because I haven't really read very many new authors that I would think that they would be an auto buy, and so I did pick one, but I have only read one book, and that's going to be Carissa Broadbent. I did read The Daughter of No Worlds, the first book in the War of Lost Hearts series, and I really liked that book. Serpent and the Wings of Night is also on my TBR. I went ahead and bought the rest of the War of Lost Hearts series. I just haven't read it yet. But I really liked that book, and based on what I've heard of Serpent and the Wings of Night, I think that I'm going to love it, which makes me think that she'll be one of my new favorite authors. So I'm not saying that she is yet, but I'm thinking that once I read a couple more books, she will probably be one of my new favorite authors this year. Next up is a book that made you cry, and if you've been watching any of my vlogs, you would know the answer to this one is Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. This was a reread, but I still sobbed just as much as I did the first time. This is the last book in the Infernal Devices series, which is like the prequel to the Mortal Instruments, and there's a love triangle, and the way that this love triangle basically plays out at the end of this book, like waterworks coming. I also have a reading vlog in which I cried reading this, which I can also link up in the cards. So if you hear clattering, it's because my mom's literally running around and throwing stuff around right now, so I apologize. But yeah, Clockwork Princess made me sob. Alright, next up is a book that made you happy, which is also kind of hard to find one because there weren't any books that I could think of that just made me like overly happy. But I ended up settling on Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. It was cute. It's a romance. If you don't already know, it follows an ice skater and a hockey player who are forced to share the same ice skating rink, and he's kind of forced into helping her when her partner gets hurt and he cannot skate with her. And they develop a relationship through that. So it is a sports romance, hockey. They're at a college, and she's a figure skater. He's a hockey player. It was cute. I really loved their vibe together. I loved the relationship. I was like giggling like a little girl at parts. So I'm gonna say that this one made me happy just because I thought it was so cute. The next question is, what is the prettiest book you've bought so far in 2023? And I really looked through my Illumicrate books because those are probably the prettiest books I own. And I almost went with my Illumicrate editions of Crescent City, but I actually decided that this one I think I like the most, and it is Song of Silver Flame Like Night. It is from the Illumicrate box. First off, this cover is so pretty. I don't know if it's gonna like focus on it or not, but the sprayed edges as well. It has like the tiger and the tortoise and all that. I think the sprayed edges are great, but even better, Under the Dust Jacket is gorgeous as well. So Under the Dust Jacket has these as well. So it's like a printed hardcover. So I definitely think that this is probably the prettiest book that I have bought all year, even though it was in a subscription box. I'm absolutely obsessed with everything about this book. I haven't read it yet, but I do plan on reading it hopefully soon, because I do really want to read this one. But it's the prettiest book I think I bought this year. The last question is, what are some books that you still need to read this year? And on my Kindle, I definitely need to finish both the Zodiac Academy and the Dark Fae series, or Ruthless Boys series. So I'm on book 3 of that, and I'm not going to finish Zodiac Academy until I finish that series. So I definitely need to get on it and get back to the Zodiac Academy universe. But I did pick 3 other books that I really want to get to this year, that I'm hoping to read because I've been either putting them off for too long or just because I've been really wanting to read them. And the first one is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. I bought this immediately after I finished Icebreaker because I thought I wanted some more sports romance. I read the first chapter and then decided I wasn't feeling like reading this big of a book, and so I put it down. But I do actually really want to read this, so I'm hoping to pick it up soon and actually read it. I just was intimidated by the size of this book, which is why I stopped and read some other things. But I definitely want to get back to this. One is a book I've been putting off for way too long. And it is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I truly think that I will be obsessed and love this book. Like, I think this is a book for me. I just haven't gotten into it yet. I do have some people in my book club who are talking about possibly reading it. So I definitely want to pick this up soon. It's a dystopian, and I think they're in like outer space. I really don't know much about it other than like it's a dystopian, and that was my vibe in high school, so I think I'll like it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, but this is one I want to read like really soon. Like I've been thinking about it a lot recently. And then the last one is She Who Became the Sun. I've seen this book a lot, and I don't even really know much about what it is about, but I want to read it. And seeing it everywhere, and I know it's like based on the Ming Dynasty's rise to power. I love history, so I think this will be good. And I know there's a second one, right? Is He Who Drowned the... I'm not sure. There's a second one that's coming out, so I definitely want to read this before that book comes out. And so this has been on my shelf for a minute, and I've been seeing it for a long time, and I really want to read it. So, and it's not like too chunky, so I definitely want to get to this one soon as well. There are plenty of other books that I need to read this year. I just am trying to let my TBR go where it takes me, and that has failed me miserably. So I think I'll be making a proper TBR for July, and watch out for that because it's going to be a video. But yeah, that's kind of like where we are at mid-year. I am indeed in a freak out about finishing my reading goal this year, so hopefully I can get to it. I just finished Yellowface. I'm going to start our book club book today, and I will be doing a reading vlog this weekend as soon as I'm done finishing this video, so be watching out for that as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.